Hello everybody, this is Lesson 2, and as I mentioned yesterday, we're going to be talking about the ways in which man can come to know of the existence of a personal God, not by way of the Bible or divine revelation, but by the use of his reason by itself. And I think that's a wonderful thing that lots of people forget. They think that religion is all a matter of divine revelation, of miracles and so on. But in fact, divine revelation presupposes that we can have a knowledge of God that's derivable by reason alone. Okay? So the Catechism says this, that there are proofs for the existence of God, not in the sense of proofs in the natural science, in the sciences, but rather in the sense of converging and convincing arguments, meaning that there are a lot of arguments for the existence of a personal God that maybe not one of them by itself is creates absolute certitude, but what philosophers have called virtual certitude. But the accumulation of those kinds of arguments presents a kind of overwhelming conclusion that there must be a God that brought into being the universe that we inhabit. Now, what the Church tells us is basically, and the Catechism divides it up in this way, is that there are two ways in which we can come to know, or two means by which we can come to know of the existence of God. The first is the world, or the physical universe, and secondly, the human soul, or in particular, the intellect. And so we're going to talk about both of those things today. All right? Take a look at paragraph 32 of your catechism. It says this: the world tells us or indicates that there is a God because it says the world, starting from movement, becoming, contingency, and the world's order and beauty, one can come to a knowledge of God as the origin and the end of the universe. One of the things that should be obvious, but not everybody, I think, thinks about it, is that nothing is the origin of itself. That is, nothing brings itself into being, okay? That whatever is in being has been brought into being by something else, and that something else has been brought into being by something else. Nothing can be, so to speak, the cause of itself. Everything is caused by something else. But this can't go on to infinity. You can't have a sort of endless series of causes. There has to be some cause that begins at all, because otherwise, then what you end up having is intermediary causes, but no first cause. But if there's no first cause, there's no subsequent causes. Okay? Now that sounds a little bit complicated, but it basically means this: that if nothing is the cause of itself, and every cause every effect has a cause, and that cause is the effect of some other cause, it has to stop somewhere. And that's what we call God. So, the order of the universe, its intelligibility, meaning we can come to understand it. Think about this. This is another indication that there is a mind behind the created universe. We know, if you've ever had a science class, presumably you've all had science classes, that the laws of the universe are things that we can understand. The fact that there are laws that govern the universe means that the universe is intelligible. We can ask questions about the most remote parts of the universe. We can ask questions about things that are interior to us, and we can come to some understanding of things wherever. All right? So that we know that the laws of gravity are operative in other places besides planet Earth. And those laws are both discoverable, and we can articulate them as well. And so the fact that the universe is what we would call intelligible or understandable suggests that there must be an intelligence behind that universe. All right? That a lot of scientists will come to a belief in at least a God on the basis of their own study of science. The universe is constantly telling us, in one sense, that it did not create itself. And in fact, let me just read you this beautiful passage. I didn't assign this today, at least not right out of Augustine, but this beautiful passage from St. Augustine. And he says, "Question the beauty of the earth." This is, by the way, found in paragraph 32. "Question the beauty of the sea. Question the beauty of the air distending and diffusing itself. Question the beauty of the sky. Question all these realities. All respond, see, we are beautiful. Their beauty is a profession. These beauties are subject to change. Who made them, if not the beautiful one, who is not subject to change? So that's one approach. That's one way that we can come to a knowledge of God. That is by a serious and intelligent observation of the way that the universe works. But the other, the Catechism tells us, is the human soul, something so close to us that we sometimes are inattentive to just what makes it distinctive. Okay? Take a look at paragraph 33. It says, with his openness to truth and beauty, his sense of moral goodness, his freedom and the voice of his conscience, with his longings for the infinite and for happiness, man questions himself about God's existence. In all this, he discerns signs of his spiritual soul. Right? We're not like the animals. Now, I happen to be an animal owner. I have a dog. I also have a cat. And one of the things about animals is that they really are pretty much their bodies. All right? That when a cat gets fed, when the cat has all of his natural appetites satisfied, he doesn't do anything. He goes to sleep. Human beings, on the other hand, are very different. That we have a natural kind of curiosity about the world. We have a curiosity about ourselves in particular. We even wonder, who am I? What's my place in the world? What's my purpose? Animals never ask that question about themselves. We also have, the Catechism tells us, freedom. We have a natural freedom. We have to make decisions. Ought I to do this or ought I not to do this? Animals never do that. My dog never asks herself whether she ought to do one thing over another, whether it would be contrary to her nature to act in an undog-like way. No, everything she does is what a dog does. There's no decision involved in that. And yet, for you and I, we make decisions all the time. Important decisions as well as sort of relatively unimportant decisions. It's because we're free beings. Also, we ask questions about not just who we are, we ask questions about the universe. We ask questions about God. Is there a God? Isn't there a God? Animals don't wonder about that kind of thing. And so what we know is that the soul of the human person is immaterial, that the soul of the person is genuinely spiritual. And that when we attend to what's going on, remember in our first lesson, we said that man has a natural desire for happiness. The animals do not have that desire. When we see that there's some way in which we are not just simply an aggregate of parts, we're not just simply a body, there's something within us that is, in a way, a spark of the eternal. Now, all of this is very important for coming to know that there is a God, but God hasn't just left it up to our reason to discover who He is and what His plan is for us on our own. And so in our next lesson, we're going to be talking about the special way in which He has revealed Himself to humankind in history. So we'll see you tomorrow.